Wine drinkers have been portrayed by every kind of artist, and by great masters as well as more minor painters. One of these painters, Manet, who played a significant role in the representation of wine in art, believed that art should reflect life. Wine, when represented on canvas, is no exception to this rule. Such images are documentary, journalistic. They tell us the role played by wine in all walks of life, without exceptions. Daily life, social life, drunkenness, and savoir-boire. Wine has been used as a social marker in every historical era. In the 18th century, the rise of a new merchant class in England made savoir-boire a real measure of social success. The Clark brothers drinking wine with other gentlemen shows us that good taste was no longer the preserve of the aristocracy, but also existed among London's lower gentry and upper middle classes. This customer base was targeted by the great Bordeaux producers, such as the Ségur, Château Lafite and Château Latour, and Pontac, Château Haut-Brion families. They were in charge of sizable production units, bringing together the best terroir. 12 works have been selected by the Virtual Wine Museum. Luncheon of the Boating Party, a painting by Renoir, should whet your appetite. Wine takes centre stage. Placed at the heart of the action, it plays an active role and contributes to the painting's happy, serene atmosphere. The people in the painting are shown as happy to be together and enjoying the delights of friendship. Duncan Phillips describes this work as overflowing with contagious good humour. The wine drinkers shown by painters demonstrate the drink's different roles and uses. It is present in their daily life and their social life, but it can also be the wine of drunkenness or the wine of connoisseurs. From drinking to savoir-boire, wine is a companion of every moment. In daily life, wine is a foodstuff. This fresco illustrates an act of Christian charity, the feeding of the hungry and thirsty with bread and wine. A century or so later, similar scenes could be witnessed in the Hospice de Bern, where there was a daily distribution of victuals to the poor. Wine was recognized as a staple foodstuff, and it helped to keep drinkers warm in winter and cool in summer. But it was so much more than a mere drink. It was seen as a tonic, a valuable source of energy and even vital minerals. As the water of the Middle Ages was barely drinkable, it was necessary to mix it with wine. It is also a remedy. In the 13th century, Arnaud de Villeneuve was happy to observe that wine is marvellous for melancholics, cholerics, and cardiac cases, and for those with liver, bladder, circulation, and especially artery problems. It relieves brutal rises in temperature. At the start of the 19th century, wine was considered a tonic, a very powerful cordial. Louis Pasteur affirmed at the Académie des Sciences that wine was the most healthful and most hygienic of beverages. It is for this reason that we can see a litre of white wine alongside a carafe of water and a phial of medicine on the nightstand of Félix Vallotton, the patient. The subject is Vallotton's mistress, who suffered from severe migraines. Wine brings comforts and energy to workers. In the 19th century, cheap red wines began to make their way into the market. They were consumed by labourers at work as a refreshment, a tonic, and an encouragement. Shown in the middle of the working day, these two exhausted laundry workers reflect the unromantic but tender attitude of the artist towards his working-class subjects. The image is incisive but unpitying. Gestures emerge with a rare expressive force implying immediacy. The woman on the left yawns and stretches, holding in her hand a bottle of wine, while her colleague hunches doggedly over her work. Wine is a part of family life for every social class. The 19th century also saw the rise of the Parisian bourgeoisie, In this scene, crystal glasses shimmer on the dinner table. They form part of a harcourt table service, created by the manufacturers Baccarat in 1841 and still sold as a luxury product today. Naturally, the wine is served in a carafe. It would not have been served otherwise in a bourgeois household. Here, that of the artist's own family. However, there is a bottle near one of the fruit bowls. The bottle probably contains a homemade muscat, doubtless the gift of a close friend, which could be enjoyed without ceremony. The café, a social crossroads and substitute family. For many people, cafes could be a sort of substitute family. Vincent van Gogh wrote to his brother Theo in August 1888, "Today I will probably start on the interior of the inn where I'm lodging. It is what we call a café de nuit. They're common here, which stays open all night. Nighttime wanderers can find a refuge, it's an asylum, when they don't have the means to pay for a room or are too drunk to be allowed in." Under the eye of the waiter, a couple and a few tired customers kill time alone long into the night. Wine and absinthe are served together. Wine and the pleasure of friendship. In the 19th century, good wine, paired with good cheer, became a way of honouring one's friends. Foie gras, previously served after roasted meat, became a starter to be enjoyed with a strong, sweet wine. This would be followed by fish and seafood, a type of dish better matched with light, dry, and aromatic white wines, such as Chablis or Meursault, served jeune, that is, young. Henry Toulouse-Lautrec illustrates such a scene in this representation of his friends the Natansons, at whose home he often dined. The jeunesse, youth, of the wine allowed for the use of a carafe. Red wines would not appear until the second half of the meal, alongside meats, poultry, and game. The pleasure of cabaret, dance halls, and ballrooms. The start of the 20th century marked an important step in the relationship between women and champagne, the Belle Époque. During this period, the king of wines and the fairer sex were brought together. Champagne was not drunk for its taste, or to alter one's perceptions, but because it was the symbol of joie de vivre. It represented cosmopolitan encounters in fashionable places. Champagne flowed in the Monaco, where the noise was deafening, with the clatter of high heels, men's heavy footsteps, and loud music. Champagne was said to give women an amazing verve. Wine is an ally to seduction and love. Even ordinary, non-sparkling wine is often connected to seduction, love, and eroticism. Vermeer, one of painting's great masters, would dedicate 7 of his 35 known works to the negative effects of wine. In this image, wine is clearly represented as an instrument of seduction, doubtless part of its attraction. The man pours the young woman's wine, hoping that its aphrodisiac effect will take away her resistance. She still seems hesitant. Is she taking the viewer as a witness? Will she succumb to the drunkenness of her senses? Wine in celebrations and social life. For the working classes of the 16th and 17th century, almost anything could be used as a pretext for celebration. The arrival of summer, the end of the harvest, a patron saint or a religious festival, anything to distract from the hardships of daily life. One of the festivals most frequently portrayed in paintings was Epiphany, otherwise known as the Day of Kings. Hugely popular, this day was once considered more important than Christmas. While the Epiphany itself was a religious festival, the traditional galette des rois, or king's cake, was often accompanied by wine. In the background of this image, we can read the following inscription: Nil similus insano quam ebrius, meaning, no one is closer to a madman than a drunk. Wine is part of political life. Drinking toasts has always been a part of political life. Ulysses, king of Ithaca, would offer wines to the princes who hosted him on his voyages. Francesco Guardi invites us to a women's concert at the Philharmonic Palace in Venice. The son of Catherine II of Russia, the Tsarevich Paul Petrovich, and his second wife are visiting the city. For a whole week, they experience non-stop festivities. The guests at one of the receptions organized in their honor, Una Magnifica Festa da Ballo, are entertained by the famous orchestral and voice ensemble of the La Pieta orphanage. Glasses of wine are offered to the guests. There is a fine line between drinking and drunkenness. A weak-willed young man arrives in London from the countryside. He has come to the city to spend his inheritance. In this painting, we find him in a tavern cum brothel in the then notorious Covent Garden area. In the midst of the orgy, the protagonist seems emasculated and ridiculous as he is being robbed. Foreign wines have left him as drunk as a lord. A portrait of François Auguste de Pontac is hanging on the wall. His father, Arnaud III de Pontac, the creator of the New French Claret, had sent him to London 60 years earlier in order to open the city's first restaurant, where he quickly established his reputation as a great chef. Wine and connoisseurs, savoir-boire and savoir-parler go together. Back from the hunt, these court aristocrats are shown eating oysters, a fashionable dish in the 18th century imported from England. They drink champagne, also known as saute-bouchon, or cork popper. The servants and guests watch the cork fly. The high price of champagne meant that it was only available for the royal court. In the richest parts of Paris and London, it was considered the best wine for refined people. If the wine sparkles, so does the conversation. The painting's connoisseurs taste the wine, exchanging their impressions and searching for the right words to describe its colour and aroma. They are drunk on language. Savoir-boire and savoir-parler go hand in hand. Would you like to see more? 720 works are waiting for you on the Virtual Wine Museum website. Take the full tour or a quick visit around our selected works. Feel free to explore what interests you most. Enjoy your visit.